This is a video about the cold Steel Recon1 and why maybe you should reconsider your jumping on the bandwagon of hating this company because of some ridiculous controversy with Lynn Thompson. So stay tuned if you want to see more. Alright, the point of this video is to basically hail the Recon 1. I think I've mentioned it before. This is, if I could only have one folding knife to take into the woods, shit hits the fan situation, whatever, I'm gonna be in the elements, I would take this knife. I'd give up all my others, as expensive as they may be, and take this knife into the woods. Now this knife has progressed through the ages here. This was one of my original carries with their cheap ass coating. I bought a Tonto tip, no idea why. I guess because I didn't realize I hate them. And I carried this knife for a long time. And I mean, it is actually the knife that started. I've always loved knives, but this is the knife that really kicked off collecting different ones because I realized how awesome a knife can be. And I've said in a few other videos, all these Recons have the same handle and they're super ergonomic. I with my hand, no knife ever fits better in my hand than this knife. This is what I compare all other knives to as far as ergonomics. Yeah, the G10 is horrible as far as ripping up pockets. I have about 8 pairs of jeans before I realized this one actually wore itself down. Oh no, I did sand this one eventually. I could see the lines there. I guess I finally got smart on that one. And now all the ones I buy I pretty much sand. Point of this video is I just got a new one, and that's the one on the bottom here. This is the S35VN version. It's still rough. I haven't gotten to sanding it yet. And I gotta tell you, they made some very impressive, well, a couple impressive modifications to it that pretty much made it, they nailed it. They nailed the thing. What I want to talk about though first is why this knife should be in your arsenal. Forget about the whole thing with their steel and who cares? Who cares? As a consumer, there's things to care about. I understand that. Issues and topics and things that people do, that companies do, that you should not purchase them and everything. But from what I've heard of the situation, and I really don't know much about it, I have to be honest, but it seems just like a bunch of ridiculousness. And people have shunned this company, and they also consider them because they come out with a lot of blockhead knives, and that's due to that, to put it nicely, meathead Lynn Thompson. He is a meathead. I've watched his videos with the last 2 years with his, I don't know, he just strikes me as a very odd person, and I don't like him. But that's not going to stop me from buying these knives because these are awesome, the Recons. I do have a code 4. I find it too slippery. Even though I always thought that was weird that people would say that. That knife in the wintertime, I get dry hands, and that thing is just very weird feeling in my hands. But some of their bigger knives, they're just ridiculous. I really do think they're ridiculous. But these knives here are outdoors, hard-working knife built to be, they're gonna last. They're gonna last forever. There's one flaw that I've seen, two major flaws that I saw in the original versions, and that was the not putting the edge right down I'm at a loss right now for words, I have to admit. I cannot think of what that's called. The sharpening thing. I'm going to call it the sharpening thing. And it's always driven me nuts on this knife. And they have been doing that for years on all of their knives, and everybody complains about it. You could see I actually tried to sharpen this one a little bit before I had better sharpeners. This knife is pretty much retired because I just can't stand the tip. But and then the other thing is, I think this one does not have the phosphor bronze washers. It has Teflon, and this one has both, which I don't understand. And so does this one. I have not taken the new one apart yet, so I don't know. I don't understand the Teflon. I really don't see a reason for it, but obviously I don't want to take them out because then the knife will probably jiggle or whatever. I'm not sure about that yet. So I haven't done that. I've just put them back in, used my nano oil, all that, and I think those are what hold these things from having better action. I do not, like I said, know if they continued to put them in here. I could see the bronze washers, but I can't tell if there's... So anyway, those are the two things that have always driven me nuts. G10, I just dealt with that. Like I said, I tore up jeans, and then I realized just take them apart and sand the knife when you get it. But with that build, you don't have, and with the triad lock, you don't have much failure in these knives. You know, room for failure. They're just excellent, excellent knives. If anything could have been said about this one besides those two things was the hollow grind. It's a very slight hollow grind. And you know, everybody knows that's a little difficult to cut certain things with that as you start getting into longer, you know, bigger pieces of cardboard or whatever, wood, whatever, it gets in the way. But with the newer knives, this is also CTS XHP. I noticed it, but I didn't really sink in. They went to a saber grind instead of the hollow grind. It's not a hollow grind anymore. And I really didn't pick up on it when I bought this clip point. I bought this maybe 4 months ago. And like I said, I just now picked up the S35VN version. And look at this. They finally listened to their customers and put the grind all the way down. That is huge to me. And again, it has the high saber grind instead of a hollow grind. This is, as I was saying to my one buddy, these two knives are getting put, well, this one's always been put in the get home bag, and then I take it out and take it mountain biking, and then I put it back in the bag, and it's a back and forth issue. This one I had in a hiking bag, and I just leave it in there. And because you never know when you're going to need a knife, or you get stuck out, break a leg, twist an ankle, and you're screwed and you need a good knife. Maybe you lost your fixed blade. I always have backups, you know. And these knives would take the place of a fixed blade as close as possible. They're just fantastic knives. So the point of what I'm trying to get across here to you is let go of your inhibitions or your biases against cold steel. Yeah, they make some ridiculous stuff, but you are not going to find a better knife that you would want. If you buy this knife, I would find it very difficult to believe that you wouldn't think, unless you have some other crazy knives that I don't have. You know, I have a bunch of knives, but for me, in my arsenal, about 70 folders, these would be the knives that I would keep. If I had to get rid of all the rest, I would keep a Recon 1. It's a necessity to me, and I feel everybody should have one. They're just fantastic knives. The build on them is fantastic. And that's all I really wanted to say as far as these knives go, is that you really need to reconsider. I noticed I have a Night Force coming in the mail. I just ordered it tonight. And I noticed there's like 3 videos on it. There's so much hatred for cold steel, and it's from people that I don't think have ever owned them. And then everybody that watches the videos, you know, people ranking on cold steel, believe it. These knives are fantastic. I would take this over Chris Reeve any day. So, you know, you can shove a Chris Reeve up your ass as far as I'm concerned. This knife is a million times better and a million times more useful. Well, I should say it's better because it's a million times more useful. So, I don't know what to tell you. I do want to throw in another quick little snippet. I am going to make another video at some point. I have bought a bunch of knives since my last video, but everybody always loves the PM2. And yes, it feels great in hand, and it is a great knife. And this was the one I bought. And I have to admit, I just was never in love with it. I liked it. I used it. I didn't use it a lot, but I was never in love with it. And I just recently started using it more and liking it more as it, you know, because as you use your knives, you like them. But so that made me want to order a new one. And I found the one in S35VN with the brown handle. And immediately when I put this knife in my hand, it felt different. And I liked it. I was just enamored by it, right? And I was like, why? What's the difference? And I could tell right away the blade was bigger. And so I looked on the website, you know, instead of measuring it because I'm lazy. And it was listed as the same. And it's not. When you match them up, when I match up the blades, I'm getting more than an eighth. It's actually more than an eighth longer. And a little wider, you know, from spine to edge because of the length. And it's noticeable to me, and now I have fallen in love with the PM2. Now I have a question, I don't know. I have actually an inquiry out to Spyderco as to whether or not this blade is longer in some of their, because this is an exclusive run, and even though it's listed as the same, and if some of their other, like the S110V, if that's longer, and if it's just the originals that are shorter, or if I bought this when they had a shorter blade and they just naturally made them all a little bit longer. I don't know the answer as to yet, because if you look on any website, they're all the same size. They are list them as the same size, but this knife is not. And it is just because it was the blade to handle ratio that drove me nuts about this knife, you know, subconsciously, so that I kind of shied away from it. This one I've just fallen in love with. I mean, it was immediate. So, and you have all the same finish. Actually, this one is, well, this one's older, so it's probably a little sticky. I should probably get some of the meat juice off it, you know. But that's something I'm looking into, and I will update when I find out. Because I'm planning on making a video on these two knives. And then I just want to throw in as a little bonus this knife I got, which is the ProTech TR3. It stole my heart. You can see it's used. This thing, until I got the new PM2, hadn't left my pocket in like 2 months or something like that. And ProTechs they say they're the least known, best automatics, and because they are the snappiest. Fantastic blade shape. It's 154 cm, which is one of my favorite steels. And it's just the blade shape, it lends itself to any task I've had to do with it. I love it. And I wish I could find a manual knife in this blade shape. I think I did, but it was a ridiculous like $500 knife, and I just wasn't going to buy that. I've done the $500 thing, you know, Chris Reeve. That wasn't worth it. But yeah. So wow. Check these guys out, ProTechs, if you haven't heard of them. I hadn't heard of them, and then I realized, I started watching videos, and it's like the best kept secret, you know? So that's the video. I hope it was informative. I don't know if it was. If it wasn't, I don't know, maybe I'll try again. I don't really like redoing videos, so. But final notes, get yourself a Recon 1. Don't listen to the bad hype. What's that? These things are fantastic. You have to have at least one of these in your arsenal. Obviously, I've got a few. I'm actually planning on, I've seen their advertising it, but I haven't seen them for sale yet, the Plain Edge. Oh, and their coatings. Their new coating, I didn't say that. I don't know what they call it. It's not a DLC. Maybe it is a DLC, they call it. So far, fantastic. This one I've just used on a little bit of cardboard here. I got it today. This one's been out in the woods. It's been through wood, you know, the woods. It's been through cardboard. It's been through food. I don't know. It's held up very, very well. You can see there's some scratching on it, but you're only seeing that scratching because of the bright lighting I have going on here. Normally, I don't see it when I take it, you know, on normal daylight. So it's held up well. I've had this knife for, this one for at least, I don't know, a couple of years. I think it's 2 years. So, and it's pretty well used. Excellent knives. Do yourself a favor and pick one up. My favorite knife. One of my favorite knives. Top. Well, like I said, I can't say it any better than if I could only keep one, it would be one of these. So, and it would probably be the new one. All right. Check them out. Get it done. Why is this not shutting off?